Welcome to day 4 Sundarakandam session presented by Shivakumar sir. Sir, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sri Ramji. Welcome one and all, and today the fourth day, and coincidentally being the International Women's Day, as all of us know. In the modern days, we call it the International Women's Day, an empowerment of women, and you can see how through the journey from the first day of Sundarakandam, we have been seeing the incidents displayed by Anjaneya, meeting Sita and giving her the confidence and empowering her and giving her the santosha, the happiness and bliss in her, as if she has already met Sri Rama in front of her in Sri Lanka in the Ashokavana. The empowerment of women, the happiness and confidence generated and created in women, and the happiness created all over the world due to that. Women empowerment in Ramayana itself has happened in the Treta Yuga, which we are celebrating today as the International Women's Day in the modern terms, which has already been there since yugas. So nothing is new. Everything has come to this world and has been there in different cultures and civilizations. And it is still continuing only in a new format or a new methodology. But the essence of it is the same and has been the same from day in and day out every day through years and millions of years, and will still continue. So let us take all the positivity ahead. And today, incidentally being Neeraja's birthday, we all, I want all of you to bless and wish her Dirghayus, Arogyam, Santosham, and Dirgha Saumangalyam throughout her life with the blessings of Anjaneya. And so today we begin the session with a beautiful sloka of the strengths of Anjaneya and the blessings of Anjaneya on the birthday occasion of Neerajaji. Manojabam marudhatulya vegam jitendriyam buddhimatam varishtam vatatmajam vanarayuta mukyam Sri Ramadhutam shirasanamami Manojabam marudhatulya vegam, the speed of wind in all the deeds. Let her achieve the speed of wind and momentum in all her good things to go ahead in life. Manojabam marudhatulya vegam jitendriyam. Let her succeed. Indriya Jayam. Let her succeed in all tuning and equilibrating all her receptors, the Panchendriyas, to give a clean Chitta Shuddhi for her in her life. Jitendriyam buddhimatam varishtam, and have the best of the intellects. Buddhimatam varishtam. Vatatmajam, the son of the Vayu, Vatatmajam, Vanarayuta Mukyam, Sache Hanuman, let he bless her with all these qualities. Vatatmajam, Vanarayuta Mukyam, Sri Ramadhutam, Shirasanamami. Rama, 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 Rama. Now we come to something before we start the slokas. We come to explain one particular thing here. Yesterday we saw Sita Mata getting the happiness, a bliss and happiness, and sensing Rama in front of her when she saw the Anguliya Pradhana, when she got the signet ring from Anjaneya in her hand, and she could see Rama in front of her, as if the task has been achieved, as if the excitement and happiness has already come in front of her in reality, in a realistic way. So from day one, when you see, we have been crossing through the journey of Anjaneya, crossing the mighty oceans and flying over the seas and reaching out to Sri Lanka in a different landmass, and then locating Sita Mata, going to Ashokavana, meeting her and giving the Anguliya Pradhana in between Trijadas Shubha omens, the dreams, and the omens which Sita Mata got, all the positive Shakunam, the omens which she got for the positivity in store. The coming events cast their shadows, as I had mentioned the second day. The same way Sita Mata could sense all the nimittas, Nimitta Shastra. And before the Nimitta, Trijada already gave her an account of her positive dreams, the dreams which we all should have to make it into reality, and which came in reality as Anjaneya jumped in there with the signet ring, the Anguliya Pradhana, which in reality happened. So from the dreams of Trijada to the reality of fulfillment, and then the happiness and santosha which she got in reality. So it was a task which was patterned in such a way by the beautiful messenger Ramadhuta, the best of the messengers, and the personification of confidence and self-sacrifice, and who is a devout servant to his master, listening each and every word and putting into action in the right way. And we could see the fulfillment of deeds here and the happiness created thereupon with exalted energies. So a sense of fulfillment, Ananda, Santosha, which turns into Ananda, the bliss, the normal happiness, which turns into Ananda, Chittananda, which is the bliss, and then the excitement, further excitement, what to do extra by going back to Rama. He was waiting to go back to Rama and give the excited news. So the excitement in him as a human being has an excitement once one or two things happen, and then he's waiting for the next options to come in, and then the exalted energies to do that. What next to do? This is the human quest which Anjaneya has displayed, and that is what we have been seeing in this Sundarakanda from day 1, 2, 3 in a patterned way with the different incidents, the deeds, and the different aspects which have been coming up. Now today we'll see the next aspect of Anjaneya's deeds, which is after meeting Sita, getting the Chudamani from her also, after giving the Anguliya and getting back the reciprocation of the Chudamani. What did he feel first? That is the first sloka we have here today in the slide. Harshena mahata yuktaha Sita darshana jena saha. Harshena mahata yuktaha Sita darshana jena cha. Saha hridayena gato ramam. Hridayena gato ramam. Sharirena tu vishtitaha. Harshena mahata yuktaha. Harshena mahata yuktaha. Harsha is the happiness, the delight. What was the delight? Mahata, the great happiness, the delight. Yuktaha, filled with the great happiness. Sita darshana jena saha. Because of the discovery of Sita, because of the darshan of Sita, which he could locate, Sita Mata, that was the happiness filled in him, the great delight. Hridayena gato ramam. What happened then? Immediately, he wanted to mentally be along with Rama also, both together. So mentally, he sought out to Rama. Immediately, the thought process, the telepathy in him reached out to Rama. Sharirena tu but his physical body stood in front of Sita. So he could see both together, the thought process plus the reality together, put together. He was an embodiment of that. Harshena mahata yukta Sita darshana jena saha hridayena gato ramam sharirena tu vishtitaha. Rama, 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 we have the beautiful temple of OTC Sri Hanuman temple here, which you can see, which is in the Palayam district, Palayam place, a place called Palayam in the Trivandrum state of Kerala, in Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram as they call it, the capital of Kerala. And here it is in a place called Palayam. Palayam is a place where we have the military camp. OTC is nothing but the officers training camp. I have a incident to quote here. Actually, this when during the times of Marthanda Varma, and before that, the king of Tiruvidanger, the earlier Trivandrum place in Kerala, was ruled by Marthanda Varma and his previous people and the descendants thereupon before the British took over. And that during that time, the capital of Kerala was in Padmanabhapuram, which is a little away from Trivandrum, further towards the southeast, bordering Tamil Nadu of today. And from Padmanabhapuram, this particular military camp, which was there in Padmanabhapuram, was later transferred when the capital had been made as Trivandrum, Travancore. And when the Travancore transfer was made, there was OTC, the military camp, which was transferred there, the OTC place, that is officers training camp. In that place, they had this Anjaneya Murti there, which had been brought from the camp in Padmanabhapuram. And this particular OTC temple of Hanuman, where you can see a different type of Hanuman, the usual Hanuman who is depicted with all the normal Bhakta Anjaneya way, Anjali Varadanjaneya, Abhayahasta Anjaneya, Dhyana Anjaneya, Shayana Anjaneya, different yogic forms which we saw all through this 2-3 days. This is a different Anjaneya here, where you have the full Vanara column in the Vanavanara Anjaneya. Vanavanara Anjaneya in a very majestic form, not a Bhakta Varada Anjali Varada Anjaneya. Here Anugraha Anjaneya. Vanavanara Anugraha Anjaneya. The Anjaneya is known here as Vanavanara Anugraha Anjaneya. Incidentally, it's a rare temple where you can see Anjaneya with the hand blessing and in a Vanara column with all the nails and this of a real Vanara, as not as a human depiction, just having the Vanara face, but the entire body with lot of a hairy this thing with all the fur and the nails of a Vanara. A beautiful depiction of idol here in OTC Sri Hanuman Temple. Harshena Mahata Yuktaha Sita Darshana Jena Saha Hridayena Gato Ramam Sharirena Tu Vishtitaha. Rama 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 Rama. This is incidentally the 72nd sloka from the Sarga 38, where we could see the happiness from Sita to Ram, from Sita to Hanuman. Sita after receiving the Anguliyam, and Hanuman after receiving the Chudamani, and thinking of Rama at that moment itself, so that he could give the news when he returns back. So this is the 72nd sloka from the Sarga 38. And we have the following sloka, the 73rd sloka, as the next sloka from the same Sarga. Manivaram upagruhya tamam maharham Janaka nripa atmajaya dhritam prabhavat. Manivaram upagruhya tam maharham Janaka nripa atmajaya dhritam prabhavat. Girivara pavana avadhuta muktaha. Girivara pavana avadhuta muktaha. Sukhitamanaha prati sankramam prabede. Sukhitamanaha prati sankramam prabede. Manivaram upagruhyatam maharham Janaka nripa atmajaya dhritam prabhavat. Girivara pavana avadhuta muktaha. Sukhitamanaha prati sankramam prapede. Manivaram upagruhya. Upagruhya manivaram. Upagruhya, taking manivaram, that excellent and highly venerable jewel, that is the Chudamani from Sita Mata's hand. Tam Maha Arham, after taking it, and Maha Arham, after wearing it oneself, worn by Sita and by its influence, resembling one who was shaken because of that excitement. Janaka Nripa Atmajayaha, Sita Mata. Atmajaya is the daughter, Janaka's daughter, Janaka Nripa, the king Janaka and his daughter Sita. Dhritam Prabhava, the Mani Upagrihya, Manivaram, Dhritam Atmajaya Janaka Nripayaha, given by Janaka's daughter to him, receiving it from her. Maharham, very excited, Prabhava, by the influence of that Manivaram. Girivara Pavana Avadhuta Muktaha. Giri is mountain. A mountain, Vara, Girivara Pavana Avadhuta Muktaha, which is blasted and which shows when it's blasted with lot of light, with excitement. bright in its light, Sukhita Manaha, happy in the mind, very pleased mentally. Pratisankramam Prapede, Pratisankramam was pleased and was waiting excitedly to return back to Rama, take his journey back through the oceans again, and return to Rama, and without wasting time to give the Chudamani to him and give the excited news to everyone there. Manivaram upagruhyatam maharham Janaka Nrupa Atmajayadrutam Prabhavat Girivara Pavana Avaduta Muktaha Sukhita Manaha Pratisankramam Prapede. Rama 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 Rama. We have the temple associated with this particular sloka, which is a Prasanna Anjaneya Swami temple in Singarakonda. Singarakonda in the Prakasham district of Andhra Pradesh, Singarakonda. And incidentally, this is associated with the legend of Ramayana, where Rama is, Anjaneya is supposed to have stayed on his way to Lanka, had taken a little bit of rest in this place for a day before proceeding further to Sri Lanka to find Mata Sita. That way, this temple is very significant, having the presence of Anjaneya beautifully, and also it is a Swayambhu Anjaneya. And this Anjaneya, when he was taking rest, it's a rare thing to see Anjaneya facing the southern direction in this temple, which is very rare. Facing a southern direction by any deity in any temple is something rare. And why they say this has been that way is because he was viewing Sri Lanka, because he was proceeding towards Sri Lanka, and he was actually seeing Sri Lanka and resting there, because Sri Lanka was to the southern direction further from there. So we have the sloka again here. Manivaram upagruhyatam maharham Janaka Nrupa Atmajaya Dhrutam Prabhavat Girivara Pavana Avadhuta Muktaha Sukhita Manaha Pratisankramam Prapede. Rama 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 Rama. We have the next sloka from the 44th Sarga of Sundarakanda, the 6th sloka from the 44th Sarga. Here, you have already seen these two slokas when we recited that, and the meaning of that, we could clearly make out the fulfillment aspect of Anjaneya, the santosha and fulfillment and the excitement in him. Now comes the exalted energies in him for deeds to do, which is going to do now by doing the great Jambumali Vadha and Prahasta's children's Vada. So we go to the Jambumali Vada portion of Sundarakanda here, which is very important, which describes the valor of Hanuman and his might and strength and the presence of mind and the way he destroyed the enemy army. So, Tam Torana Vitankas Hanumantam Mahakapim Jambumali Mahabahu Vivyadhanishitaihi Sharaihi Tam Torena Vitankastam Hanumantam Mahakapim Jambumali Mahabahu Vivyadhanishitaihi Sharaihi. Jambumali, you can see, was a great demon who was very strong in Ravana's court, as a court person, the Sabha and the army chief, who was very, very strong and mighty in his looks as Anjaneya. And Jambumali, the name itself is giving you it's giving a sense of a wrestler or whatever. Mahabahu, with very strong hands, the shoulders, very strong shoulders. Mahabahu, very strong hands. Bhuja, Bahu, Bhuja is a synonym for hands and the shoulders. Tam Torena Vitankastam. Tam Torena Vitankastam Hanumantam Mahakapim. Hanumanta, the Hanuman who was the Mahakapim, the great Vanara, Vanarottama, Veera Anjaneya, Hanuman, Tam Torena Vitankastam Jambumalim Mahabahum Vivyada Nishitaihi Sharaihi. Sharaihi is the arrows, sharp arrows which Jambumali transfixed, who fixed sharp arrows into that great Vanara, Vanarottama, Hanuman. And when Hanuman was Torena Vitankastam, was standing, was on the top of the doorway, was on the top of the doorway, Archi doorway in Sri Lanka, after meeting Sita, and ready with their exalted energies to do the Vidvamsam of all the Rakshasas, Rakshasa Vidvamsine Namaha, all the remover of all foes, all the enemies, all the obstacles, the great Anjaneya, and where he was standing mighty in front of Jambumali, who was equally mighty and who transfixed lot of sharp arrows into the great Vanara. Tam torena vithankastam Hanumantam Mahakapim Jambumali Mahabahu Vivyadhanishitaihi Sharaihi. Rama 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 Rama. We have the beautiful temple associated with this particular sloka, the Pundrasar Balaji temple, with the great Hanuman statue near Bikaner, Rajasthan, as mentioned in this slide. Incidentally, there is a legend which goes with this particular temple and the installation of it. Pundrasar, as you have seen in the slide, is in Bikaner, Rajasthan. There was a big businessman in those days who was known as Jairam Das Botra, who was a great businessman in that area of the country. And there was a great famine which happened during his time in 1774. And that was the time when he and all his people had gone in search and had fled to Punjab to collect grains, because Punjab was known in those days for the lot of, the wheat and other grains which were available, and even today. So that is where they, because they harvested there more. And so this particular businessman with his people had traveled there and fled there during the famine which happened in Pundrasar in Rajasthan, a very bad drought and famine, to collect grains and bring them back to his place and make it more enriched, and to make people get the grains and not suffer. So that was a noble thought, and they had all traveled there on camelbacks in those days because Rajasthan, was a desert, most of the area. So he had traveled with his people there. And unfortunately, once they reached there and the camels all were injured, so but the legs were broken, lot of injuries which happened during the travel and this thing. So they couldn't travel the next day. And this particular businessman and his people were so sad, and they were lying sad in the night without a sleepless, it was a sleepless, half sleepless night. And they heard voices, especially this particular businessman, Jairam Das Botra, who was a very noble soul, heard voices saying that, please travel back, I am with you, please travel back and take this idol which is here near you, get up and take this idol. And when he woke up, to his astonishment, he saw the great idol of Anjaneya in front of him, and a vision of Anjaneya in front of him, saying this to him to take the idol again and travel back that very next day and putting up a temple there in Bikaner, Rajasthan. That is how this temple came into being, and is surrounded by lot of sand dunes, Rajasthan being the place, Bikaner, 57 kilometers away from this particular this place from Rajasthan, inside the city, in the Bikaner area. Pundrasar Balaji temple. And here again, Balaji, as I had mentioned yesterday, in North India, we have Balaji, Balaswarupa Anjaneya. Balaji is actually Hanuman, not Venkateshwara Swami. Here in North, it is Balaji is Anjaneya. Rama 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 Rama. We have the sloka again. Tam torena vithankastam Hanumantam Mahakapim Jambumali Mahabahu Vivyadhanishitaihi Sharaihi. Rama 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 Rama. We have the next sloka following, which is the 7th sloka from the same Sarga, Sarga 44 of Sundarakanda. Ardhachandrena vadane Shirasi ekena karnina bahau vivyadhanarachaihi dashabihi tam kapi ishwaram ardha chandra vadhane shirasi ekena karnina bahau vivyadhanarachaihi dashabihi tam kapi ishwaram ardha chandrena vadane. The half blossomed moon, ardha chandra, the crescent moon, the half blossomed moon, ardha chandrena vadane, face as glowing as the moon. Shirasi ekena karnina. It's shaped like a karnina is the ear, an arrow shaped like the top of the ear-shaped top arrow, as you can see the meaning here in his and in the arms with 10 steel arrows which were focused towards Anjaneya by Jambumali. So you can imagine Jambumali was so cruel and so mighty also to have the guts and the dhairyam to face Anjaneya. So imagine the bhagyam he has done to get the moksha from Anjaneya's hands. He transfixed Hanuman, the leader of the monkeys, the Vanaras, in the face with an arrow with a crescent-shaped head. Ardha Chandrena Vadane, a moon-shaped, half-moon-shaped arrow, the crescent-shaped head of the arrow, on the head with an arrow having a ear-shaped top. So imagine the description of the arrow, and all in steel, and in the arms with the 10 sharp steel arrows. Dashabihi, Dashaha is 10 arrows, Sharaihi, arrows. So 10 steel arrows, which were sharply made and which were focused towards Anjaneya to focus and shower the arrows on him. Jambumari was waiting with all the might. Ardha Chandrena Vadane Shirasi Ekena Karnina Bahau Vivyadhanarachaihi Dashabihi Tam Kapimishwaram. Kapi is the Vanarottama, the Anjaneya. Rama, Rama, Rama. We have the beautiful temple associated with this slide, with this sloka now. You can see the Ragigudda temple, Ragigudda Hanuman temple with the Vajra Kavacham also beautifully displayed in this slide in Karnataka, Bangalore. Ragigudda Hanuman temple is in Karnataka, Bangalore. And Prasanna Anjaneya temple, as it is known, in Jayanagar, Bangalore. And here, actually, there is a legend associated with this temple also. Gudda is a small hillock. In Kannada, it is in Kannada language, Gudda means a small hillock. You can see a small hillock in the color of ragi in this particular place where this temple is situated. Actually, there was a devotee, a lady, many years before this temple came into existence, whose name was Sudharma, and she was so pious, giving bhiksha always to every day to someone or the other. And one day it coincidentally happened. The incidentally happened that the Trimurtis wanted to come and take bhiksha with her and test her piousness. So they came in front of her and requested for bhiksha to see how far she is able to give that, because she herself was very poor and was somehow managing it every day, at least to give to one person. So that particular day, she had only ragi grains in her house and a bowl of ragi, which she gave to distributed equally to the Trimurtis, and they were so pleased, and they blessed her, gave her darshan, and blessed her and said that they will stay here itself, and these grains of ragi will become the ragi gutta, a hillock of ragi, in the same way, and there where they will be staying and blessing all the devotees henceforth. And that is how to date you can see the Trimurtis in the rocks, in the ragi rocks here in the hillock, and Anjaneya above them to bless the devotees who come there as Prasanna Veera Anjaneya. Ragi Gudda Anjaneya in Jayanagar, in Bangalore, in Karnataka. We have here this beautiful temple, and the sloka again. अर्धचन्द्रेण वदने शिरसि एकेन कर्णिना बाहो विव्याधनाराचैः दशभिः तं कपिमीश्वरम्. Rama, 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 Rama. We go to the next following sloka, the 8th sloka from the same Sarga 44 of Sundarakanda. Again, continuing with the Jambumali's Vadha. Tasya tat shushubetamram sharena abhihatam mukham. Tasya tat shushubetamram sharena abhihatam mukham. Sharadi iva ambujam fullam viddham bhaskara rashmina. Sharadi iva ambujam fullam viddham bhaskara rashmina. Tasya tat sushubhe tamram sharena abhihatam mukam. Sharadi iva ambujam fullam viddham bhaskara rashmina. Here Ambujam, is lotus. Fullam is blossoming of Ambujam. Fullam is blossoming. Bhaskara is the sun. Rashmina, Rashmi is the rays of the sun. And Sharadiva, Sharadi is the autumn season. And in the autumn season, how the sun's rays are like the Ambujam Fullam, the fully blossomed lotus, touched by the sun's rays in autumn. The same way, Sharadiva Ambujam Fullam Vidham Bhaskara Rashmina. What happened? That crimson face of Hanuman was hit by the arrow of Jambumali, and once it was hit by the arrow, it was seen that his face was like the fully blossomed lotus touched by the rays of sun in the autumn. How beautiful the description of Valmiki goes here. Kindly just visualize this particular incident and you will feel the bliss in you, the beautiful face of Hanuman, the crimson Sindura Varna Anjaneya, Sindura Varnam as it is called in Sanskrit, the crimson face of Hanuman when it was hit with the arrow, because when it was hit with the arrow, when it started bleeding and you could see the reddish, the Sindura Varnam of Anjaneya, and Ardha Chandram is seen here, and Sharadi by the Ambujam, which was the lotus fully blossomed on his face, the crimson face of Hanuman, the Sindura Varna Anjaneya, and we have the beautiful temple here associated with this sloka. Here you can see the Panchamukhi Hanuman temple, incidentally in Karachi, Pakistan, where we have this beautiful Panchamukhi temple associated with this particular sloka. This particular temple in Pakistan is more than 1,500 years old, and it has been to date maintained. It has been maintained as a World Heritage Center, and prayers are going on beautifully in this place. And incidentally, this is a place in the legend of Ramayana where also it is said that Rama had traveled out before he went to Sri Lanka. This place also is supposed to be mentioned in the legend, and the beautiful Anjaneya idol had been excavated from under the earth, and lot of other idols also. And this temple has been beautifully maintained still date in Pakistan, in Karachi. The Panchamukhi, the Vishesham in this place, the significance is that it is a Panchamukhi Anjaneya. Panchamukhi Anjaneya is supposed to be an Anjaneya avatara which happened later in Ramayana in the Yuddha Kanda, when Ahiravana had taken Rama and Lakshmana to the Patala, and where Hanuman, under the instructions of Rama himself, the inspiration of Rama, the instructions of Rama, the Atma Nirvana of Rama, had gone there to collect both of them back and bring them to the earth from Patala, from Ahiravana's clutches, back to Sri Lanka. So this is a significant place. And Panchamukhi Anjaneya, let us take the blessing of Panchamukhi Anjaneya from here and get all our negativities cleared, all the obstacles and the vignas like Patala to be cleared. The Patala in us is there with every one of us, with all the so-called obstacles, so-called dukkha's, the so-called miseries, and the so-called things which are yet to be achieved, which has to be cleared, and we have to go in the path of victory. So let us take this Anjaneya's blessing, the Panchamukhi Anjaneya of Karachi and Pakistan, to get the blessings and proceed in our life and clear all the obstacles by his blessings. Rama, 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 Rama. We have the sloka again here. Tasya tat sushubhe tamram shareena abhihatam mukam sharadi iva ambujam fullam viddham bhaskara rashmina. Rama, 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 Rama. We go to the next sloka, which is again from the same sarga, the 18th sloka, where we have the 18th sloka, where we have the Jambumali Vata completed. Sahatahattarasasena Jambumali Maharataha Papata Nihato Bhumau Churnita Anghavibhushanaha. Sahataha, Hataha is killed. Sahataha, he has been killed. Tarasatena fallen to the ground. Jambumali Maharataha, the Jambumali, the mighty Jambumali, fallen to the ground, killed and fallen to the ground. Papata Nihato Bhumau, Papata Nihato has been killed and fallen to the Bhumi. Bhumau Churnita Anga Vibhushnaha has been crushed to the Bhumi. All the ornaments in him has also been crushed and fallen to the Bhumi. Papata Nihato Bhumau. Churnito Anga Vibhushana, all the jewels, the ornaments on his limbs, all those things have been crushed and fallen to the Bhumi. Sahataha Tarasatena Jambumali Maharataha Papat Nihato Bhumau Churnita Anga Vibhushanaha. So we have the great Jambumali being killed and extinguished by the mighty Anjaneya, the Vanarottama, the Veeranjaneya, Ramadhuta, here extinguishing the great and mighty Jambumali in one slot. So thus struck by Hanuman, the mighty Jambumali with his limbs and ornaments crushed to powder was instantly killed and fell dead on the ground. Sahataha tarasatena Jambumali Maharataha Papata Nihato Bhumo Churnita Anga Vibhushanaha. Rama, 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 Rama. We have the beautiful temple associated with this, which is very significant and related to this sloka in a beautiful way, which I'll explain now. We have the Panchamukhi Anjaneya of Chitrakuta. You have seen here Chitrakuta, which is very well associated with the legend of Ramayana, where we have the mention of Rama staying in Chitrakuta and all, which we see in Ramayana, in the different kantas of Ramayana. Here, Chitrakuta being in the, as you know, in Uttar Pradesh, and which is having Panchamukhi Anjaneya here, where in Chitrakuta, lot of incidents of Ramayana have taken place, which is very significant, which each one of us is aware with. So Panchamukhi Anjaneya of Chitrakuta here, let us take the blessings and reach out to Chitrakuta mentally through our thought process. Like Anjaneya reached out to Rama in front of Sita mentally after receiving the Chudamani. The mental thoughts, the telepathy, the thought process in us is very important to bring in good thoughts, which will lead us to more of Chitta Shuddhi and focus to achieve all our things, just like the Ekagrata, the concentration which Anjaneya had and which we had said in the beginning as Manojapam Maruta Tulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam. To become a Buddhimatam Varishtam, the great intellect in us has to come out. So to become that, we have to get the Jita Indriyaha. Jitendriyam Buddhimatam. So Indriya Nigraham means not killing of Indriyas, but to fine-tune and equilibrate our Indriyas, which was a Sukshma theory actually mentioned in olden days. Indriya Nigraha is not Indriya destruction, but it is the equilibrating of the Indriyas to concentrate and focus on our deeds, which are mainly required, which Panchamukhi Anjaneya, being the Pancha Indriyas representing each Mukha. That is why we have the Panchamukhi Anjaneya Avatara, which happened during the Ahiravana's incident in Ramayana. So Panchamukhi, wherever we see Panchamukhi Anjaneya in the world, it is an indication to equilibrate our Indriyas. Indriya equilibration, Indriya Samaroha. Indriya Samaroha leads us to the intellect, which becomes more focused in us to become Buddhimatam Varishtam, become a Varishta like Anjaneya, Varishta, the excellent one, the specific, unique one with lot of intellect, a superhuman, and that is what we achieve through Panchamukhi Anjaneya's Anugraha. Especially, it is very important for students who are in their main studies and lot of research and other things, schooling and college, where they require a lot of concentration and lot of focus. And that is where Panchamukhi Anjaneya is very important to bless them, who gives them the intellect and concentration in them by getting their Indriyas not diverted with internet and other things, which happens nowadays. Of course, internet is required to a certain extent to gain knowledge, but not to waste time. So Panchamukhi Anjaneya giving the concentration to all of us, especially the students and all our children, so that they grow well and be focused in their life to achieve success. Panchamukhi Anjaneya temple at Chitrakoot. We have the sloka again here. Sahatah tarasatena jambumali maharatah papat nihato bhumau churnita angavibhushana. Rama 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 Rama. Next we go to the second, actually the third section of this adhyaya, where the sloka we have from the 45th sarga of Sundarakanda, which indicates the next deed of the exalted energies which were displayed by Anjaneya by the Vadha of Prahasta's sons. Prahasta, the chief minister of Ravana's Sadas, and his sons, the 7 sons of Prahasta, who are very proud of themselves, who are very proud and who are also decorated so well and beautiful, but very proud, ahankara, with all bala, but they were all very strong also, and how they were sent to attack Anjaneya and to bring him to fold. So this is what, and the killing of them, this is what is taken up here in the 45th sarga, in the first, second, third, and the fourth slokas put together. Tatahatte rakshasa indrena chodita mantrina sutaha nirnayuhu bhavana tasmat sapta sapta archivarchasaha. Tatahatte rakshasa indrena chodita mantrina sutaha nirnayuhu bhavanat tasmat sapta sapta archivarchasaha. Tatah te rakshasa indrena chodita mantrinaha sutaha. Mantrina sutaha, the minister's sons. Sutaha. Sutaha is one child, sutaha, the plural, that's 7 children. That is why sapta sapta archivarchasaha, the 7 of them, sapta sapti archa varchasaha, varchasaha, which full of strength. Niryayuhu bhavanat, from their bhavanat is the houses. From their respective houses, they were instructed to go, and they started the journey towards Hanuman. Tatahatte Rakshasendrena. Rakshasendra is Ravana, the leader, and from the ministers, the sons, they were ready now, the 7 of them, with full of valor, to reach out to Hanuman to make him come to the fold. Mahabala parivara dhanushmanto mahabalaha krita astra vidhama sreshta paraspara jayayeshinaha. Mahabala parivara, full of strength, and all with the army surrounded along with them. Dhanushmanto mahabalaha, Dhanushmanto with arrows and bows in with them, holding all the arrows and bows. Mahabalaha with all the might. Krita astra vidhama sreshtaha paraspara jaya eshinaha. Krita astra vidhama with all the arrows which were sreshta paraspara jaya eshinaha, with praising each one of them among themselves. They started out towards Anjaneya. Hemajala parikshiptai dvajavadbihi patakibihi toyadasvana nirghoshaihi vajiyuktai maharataihi. Hemajala parikshiptai dvajavidbhi patakibihi. Dvajavidbihi patakibihi, the flags and the dhwajas, the flags, with the flags, hemajala, golden colored, with all the golden hues, with the flags. Toyadaswana nirghoshaihi vajiyuktai maharattai, with all the chariots. Tapta kanchana chitrani chapani amita vikramaha. Tapta kanchana, kanchana is again gold. Tapta kanchana, shining like gold, the chitras, all the inscriptions, chapani, all the chapas, amita vikramaha, with all the strength and valor which were unequal to anything. Visparayantaha samhrishtaha tadidvantaiva ambudaha. Thereafter, those 7 sons of his chief minister, having a luster similar to that of fire, surrounded by a great army, wielding their respective bows, astras, possessing a great strength, well trained in archery, astra vidhama sreshtaha, the archery sciences, astra vidhama sreshtaha, enlightened with that, having the knowledge of that, well trained with the power and knowledge of weapons, wishing a victory reciprocally, that is between them, paraspara jaya eshinaha, praising each other among themselves, and as directed by the Rakshasendra, Ravana, they started highly delighted from that palace. Niryayuhu bhavanat tasmat, from their palaces, respective palaces, in great chariots. In great chariots, maharathaihi, in great chariots, maharathai. How are the chariots? They were yoked by horses, and the chariots were having, they were like the gold in itself. Hema jala parikshiptaihi, representing, resembling gold colors, gold hues, and with lot of smaller flags and bigger banners and flags, all those things. That is why you have here as Dvajavidbihi patakibihi. Dvajaha is flag and pataka is a banner which is bigger than a flag. Dvajavidbihi patakibihi. They were stretching their bows. Tapta kanchana chitrani chapani amita vikramaha, inlaid with refined gold, that is the kanchana. Kanchana is yellow gold, looking colorful like clouds accompanied by flashes of lightning. Ambudaha, Ambudaha, in the flashes of lightning in the sky, Ambudaha. Atatahatte Rakshasendrena Chodita Mantrinaha Sutaha Niryayuhu Bhavanat Tasmat Sapta Archivarchasaha Mahabala Parivara Dhanushmanto Mahabalaha Krita Astra Vidama Sreshtaha Paraspara Jaya Eshinaha Hemajala parikshiptaihi dvajavidbihi patakibihi toyadha swana nirghoshaihi vajiyuktaihi maharathaihi tapta kanchana chitrani chapani amita vikramaha Visparayantah samhrishtaha tadidvanta iva ambudaha. Rama, Rama, Rama. Let us have the beautiful temple associated with all these 4 slokas here from the Sarga 45. The great Batu caves in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the Hanuman statue which you can see, showing the might and valor of Hanuman here. And this land, you know, is also associated with the legend of Ramayana, where you have Sumatra, Bali, and Malaysia in those days, which were not separate countries, the continental drift, which had not happened billions, millions of years when Ramayana happened. And that is when you can see Hanuman traversing through all these areas, the Sumatran area, the Bali area, the Indonesian area, Bali area, the Malaysian area, and then reaching out to Sri Lanka, crossing the ocean. And that is where here in Batumalai, which has a famous Murugan temple, you have the Hanuman statue installed, which is showing all the might with all the Amsha. It's a Amsha Varada Anjaneya, as it is known in this temple here, the statue. Amsha Varada Anjaneya. The Amsha of strength, the Panchendriya control, and the Amsha is shown. And you can see where he is holding the palms and the hands, the wrists towards his chest, indicating the might as a wrestler and destroying Prahasta's sons, who came with a whole lot of army, and all the 7 of them, and all of them showering arrows from all the sides on Anjaneya. And you can see the might and the Vishwarupa Darshana of Anjaneya in the Batu caves here in the Anjaneya statue, which is again associated with the legend of Ramayana. The land is associated with the legend of Ramayana. And you have here the Anjaneya, who is a embodiment of strength of the Indriyas, and an embodiment of the presence of mind, and an embodiment of might, and a destroyer of the foes and enemies. So we have the sloka here again, all the 4 slokas. Tatahatte rakshasendrena chodita mantrena hasutaha niryayuhu bhavanat tasmat sapta sapta archivarchasah mahabala parivara dhanushmanto mahabalaha krita astra vidama sreshtaha paraspara jaya ishinaha हेमजाल परिक्षिप्तैः ध्वजविद्भिः पताकिभिः तोयदस्वन निर्घोषैः वाजियुक्तैः महारथैः तप्तकाञ्चन चित्राणि चापाणि अमितविक्रमाः विस्फारयन्तः संहृष्टाः तडिध्वन्तैव अम्बुदाः. Rama, 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 Rama. Let us have the next sloka from the same Sarga 45, the 17th sloka. Here again, showing the strength of Anjaneya, and after completing his deed of Prahasta's children getting extinguished, what he does next. That is what is seen here in this sloka, the 17th sloka from the Sarga 45. Satan pravrdhan vinihatya rakshasan mahabalah chandaparakramah kapihi yuyutsuhu anyaihi punah eva rakshasaihi tat eva viro abhijagama toranam tat satan pravrdhan vinihatya rakshasan mahabalah chandaparakramah kapihi yuyutsah yuyutsuh anyaihi punah eva rakshasaihi tatyeva viro abhijagama toranam tat. That heroic and mighty Hanuman, having terrible powers, Satan Prabhadhan Vinihatya Rakshasan Mahabalaha Chanda Parakramah Kapihi. Kapihi Mahabalaha Chanda Parakramaha. That heroic and mighty Hanuman, the Parakramaha, Kapihi, the Vanarottama, having terrible powers, Mahabalaha Chanda Parakramaha, killing those arrogant demons and being desirous of a combat, killing those dangerous and arrogant demons. Satan pravadhvan vinihatya rakshasan. Mahabalaha Chanda Parakramaha Kavi. Yuyutsuhu, getting excited, ready for the next combat. Anyaihi Punaha Eva Rakshasaihi. If there are any other Rakshasas left out, Tat Eva Viro, Abhijagama Toranam Tat. Again reached that archy doorway itself. Abhijagama went to that same Toranam Tat, that doorway. Satan pravadhvan vinihatya rakshasan mahabalaha chanda parakramaha kapihim yuyutsuhu anyaihi punaha eva rakshasaihi tateva viro abhijagama toranam tat. Rama 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 Rama. We have the beautiful temple associated with this particular sloka. You can see the world's biggest statue of Hanuman here outside India, the world's biggest statue of Hanuman, which is installed by none other than Ganapati Sachidananda Swami of the Dattapeetham from Karnataka. The Dattatreya temple, along with the Anjaneya Murti idol, which is 85 feet tall, and which is incidentally in the dual island, the Caribbean nation is near Venezuela, South America, and Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. That is the place where you have this Anjaneya, the Dattatreya temple with the 85 feet Anjaneya, and you have this Anjaneya as a Veera Karya Siddhi Anjaneya, Veera Karya Siddhi Anjaneya at 85 feet in Trinidad, Tobago, the Caribbean island near Venezuela, South America, and at the port of Spain. I think it is easier for people from there to visit this temple and take the beautiful blessing and really appreciate and enjoy the beauty of the whole lot of the statue of Anjaneya here, which is mighty Vishwarupa Anjaneya, Vishwarupa Varada Anjaneya, as it is known in this temple, Vishwarupa Varada Anjaneya. He is the Anjaneya, Vishwarupa Varada Anjaneya at 85 feet tall, installed by none other than Ganapati Sachidananda Swami of the Dattapeetha in Trinidad, Tobago, in the Caribbean island of the South America. Rama 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 Rama. I can have this sloka again. Satan pravadhvan vinihatya rakshasan mahabalaha chanda parakramaha kapihi yuyutsuhu anyehi punaha eva rakshasaihi tateva viro abhijagama toranam tat. Rama 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 Rama. Then we have the last sloka for today's session from the 54th Sarga of Sundarakanda, the first sloka. That is the next part of his journey here in today's journey, which is the Lanka Dahana Chintanam, the burning of Lanka and the envisaging of that in his mind. Vikshamanah tatho Lankam kapihi krita manoratah vardhamana samutsaha karyasesham achintayat. Vikshamanah tatho Lankam kapihi krita manoratah vardhamana samutsaha karyasesham achintayat. Vikshamanaha, then after fulfilling his heart's wish, Vikshamanaha, he visualized. What did he visualize? Hanuman looking over Lanka, Tatho Lankam Kapihi Vikshamanaha, thought about the remaining act to be done. What was the remaining act? The remaining act was to burn Lanka. Vardhamano. So what happened? Vardhamano Samutsaha. The exalted energies and the excitement increased in him for the karya to be done, for the deed to be done. Karya Sesham, the remaining karya, regarding that which he thought of. Lanka Dahana Chintanam. So today we had all the 5 parts rather, from the happiness which he received from Sita Mata, the second part being Jambumali's Vada, the third part being Prahasta's son's Vada, the fourth part being his becoming happy with that and exhibiting his prowess and killing all the and waiting for the other Rakshasas to be destroyed. And later on, coming to the last part where he thought about Lanka Dahanam. Rama, Rama, Rama. We have a beautiful temple associated with this sloka, the Karya Siddhi Hanuman temple in your own land there, which is in Frisco, Texas. And many of you would have already visited that temple, which was established again and installed by the same Ganapati Sachidananda Swami of the Dattapeetham in the year 2009, if I am right, in the year 2009. And you can all have a beautiful darshan of this place, which is very near to your place from there. And from India, I think people will take time to reach out there. Anyway, we'll get the blessings of him from the blessings and wishes of all of you. And let us go to the bhajan of today and complete the session and take the journey ahead tomorrow with yet another journey of a beautiful deed of Anjaneya.
Thank you, Shivakumar sir. Well, the bhajan will begin now.
Vayukumara Vanaravira Vayukumara Vanaravira Atibalavanta Hanumanta Atibalavanta Hanumanta Keshari Nandana Anjani Putra Keshari Nandana Anjani Putra Jaya Ho Pavana Kumar Jaya ho Pavana Kumar Jaya ho Pavana Kumara Jaya ho Pavana Kumara Vayu Kumara Vanaravira
Thank you, everyone. Let us meet tomorrow again. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivakumar sir.
Thank you, man.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you very much, Kumar sir. We actually had
Thank you,
another
Ma.
wonderful day today.
Hello.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you, Ma. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Are you able to hear?
Yes, it's very clear.
I am Nagarajan from Mylapore.
Tell me, Ma.
Beautiful lecture with all the temples we have not at all known yet.
Thank you
Glad,
so much.
sir.
It's
Very,
an
very
opportunity
happy.
given by all of you. I'm really, எனக்கு என்ன சொல்றதுன்னு தெரியல. ரொம்ப thanks சொல்லணும் உங்க எல்லாருக்கும் for giving me this opportunity.
தெரியாத டெம்பிள்னா நல்லா தெரிஞ்சுட்டா உங்க லெக்சர் மூலமா ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. இவ்வளவு ஹனுமான் டெம்பிள் இருக்குங்கிறது எங்களுக்கு இது வரைக்கும் தெரியல.
இன்ஃபேக்ட் சுந்தரகாண்டத்துல இருக்கிற 2885 ஸ்லோகத்துக்கும் கோவில் இருக்கு ஆஞ்சநேயரோட.
வெரி நைஸ், வெரி கிளாட் சார். ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் சார்.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of the day. See you all tomorrow.
Thanks, Sriram. Bye.
Bye.